The secret that's found in every story was the last question that was posed. But now there's a simple Taoist story that enables us to face a challenge. And this story will do just that for those of us who had to press pause in our busy lives. It's the story, a Taoist story, about an old man riding his water buffalo away from the great city. He was an alchemist, well known and revered. He chronicled the stories of the great masters of the Tao, but he found that society had changed. People were enamored of the knowledge, the written word. They no longer listened to their own inner beings. Even his many students were more concerned with finding mystical powers than learning the knowledge that he had to give. So you could say that he was disillusioned, and so riding his old water buffalo, eschewing a horse, because the old water buffalo was steady. It didn't need much food. It could be intrepid, and so it was apt also that he chose this humble way to make his way out of the city. With him was a lone student, one who decided to accompany him as he went, definitively never to return to that life. But the wind was cold. It was not a time for travel, because the winter chill was in the air, and it blew his beard and his grey hair as he rode, and felt the chill going into his bones. But he too was intrepid in his purpose, so stoically they made their way out of the city. Indeed, they came to those towns along the way where he was recognized and adulated. And there were times when he allowed this, so that his companion, his student, who was freezing and always hungry, to take the hospitality that was offered, albeit with the purpose of gaining something from him. But even here, in the villages, the people were only interested in what they perceived to be the linear, the words, not in the deep teachings that are the essence of the Tao or the way. But eventually they came to the border, and there, at this outpost, the old man, Lao Tun was his name. Painfully, his old bones feeling stiff, he alighted from the water buffalo and was greeted by the keeper of the gate at the border, who happened to be an old student of his, one who was almost as old as he. So he was warmly greeted, with the words, "Master, how nice of you to visit. Are you taking a holiday?" Lao Tun replied, "No, I am leaving definitively. I am going towards the great desert out there, the expanse that lay almost endlessly beyond the gates of this great place." So, after a warm repast, Lao Tun and his friend, his ex-student, sat talking, reminiscing about old days. But in the context of that, his ex-student said to him, "Master, how can you leave behind all your students and those who perhaps have the possibility of moving into that place, that state which is known and encapsulated the essence of what we call the Tao?" Lao Tun said, "How, when they did not listen to my teachings, only were interested in the linear words, what purpose is there for me to write?" But his ex-student begged him, and also the student who was accompanying him was sitting by quietly, knowing that he himself had begged his master time and again, "Please, write, speak to those who have ears to hear and eyes to see." Lao Tun said, "No, my decision has been made." But yet there was one test for him to face. So when it was time to lay their bodies down, Lao Tun thought to himself and found within himself that little guilt, that little thought of those who had been left behind. And so he resolved. Sitting up, he took from out of his pack his writing utensils. He slowly began to mix the ink on its plate. He took up his brush and waited, and then he began to write. What Lao Tun wrote is the essence of the Tao, but the challenge that's put to all of you now, finding ourselves in this place that we could say is somewhat like that of Lao Tun, to find and express that which heretofore has been inexpressible. So Lao Tun, sitting with his brush and his ink plate, called on all his experience and his knowledge, and he root. We too have this opportunity to sit with our brush and our palette. And now it's time to face that challenge, whether we call it guilt or not, responsibility or not, that which rises in us as the urge to express the Tao. It's not only a challenge, but something that must be done. Do it now.